These are definitely my favorite tacos of all time. Birria tacos with cheese dipped in consomme. It takes a while for all this to come together, but it's definitely worth it. So here's how you do it. You want to start with your dried Guajillo Chilis and Pasilla Chilis. If you can't find them in your local grocery store, Amazon has them. So I'm going to put the links to purchase below. So you want to take the seeds out and you want to roast them in a pot to bring out the flavor. Next, you want to pour in some broth to soften up the chilies and get them to blend up with the rest of the spices. I use beef broth because that's more of the flavor profile that we're looking for. And while that's boiling a little bit, I'm going to start getting the rest of our ingredients ready. First, I'm going to be seasoning up our lamb. I'm using lamb for this recipe. You can also use beef. So I am simply adding in some salt and some pepper on both sides. And the reason why I'm just using salt and pepper for this is because a whole bunch of flavor and a whole bunch of spices is going to come from our sauce. Next, I'm just going to chop up some onions and some garlic that I'm just going to start frying up and getting ready to blend. I add in my diced tomatoes. I really like the roasted version, but I couldn't get my hands on it this time, so I just added regular diced tomatoes, and I am adding in a little bit of oregano to that. We're gonna let that cook up a little bit while we blend our spices. Starting off with some cloves, I'm adding in some cinnamon. I normally would use whole spices and roast them, but I only had the ground spices, so that's what I used. So I added in my ground cumin, my ground coriander, and I'm also adding in a couple of bay leaves. So now on to my favorite ingredient, which is chilies and adobo. I put this in a whole bunch of stuff, so of course I had to put it in this recipe. If you don't want yours to be as spicy, don't add in as many whole chilies and just use the adobo sauce that's in the can. It's going to give you the flavor without giving you the spice. I'm adding half of the tomatoes that we were cooking back into the pot so that we can reserve half to stay in the consomme, the kind of soup that we're going to be having with our tacos. We're almost done with the whole spices part, so we're going to take the chilies that we had bubbling up in the beef broth earlier, and you're going to pour that along with the broth into your blender. Once that's done, I added a couple of sprigs of thyme. At first, I was like ripping the leaves off, but then I was like, you're putting it in a blender. You don't have to do all of that. So I topped everything off with my beef broth. And I went ahead and blended all of that together. Now, that was a whole lot of spices, so remember, everything is going to be in the description box. I went ahead and blended up everything, and let me tell you, this whole mixture is so good. It's amazing. Like, when I tell you these are the best tacos ever, like, you have to make these.
Just do it!
So at this point, basically thyme is just going to do the work for you. You want to take the rest of your tomatoes and you want to put them in a pot. I'm using the same pot that I had boiled my chilies in. Then you're going to also pour in some of that mixture, actually all of the mixture that we just made. And what I like to do is I like to still keep a carton of that beef broth on hand, or you can use water to just rinse out your blender and get as much of that into the pot as possible, and also to just add extra liquid for the amount of time that we're going to be cooking our meat in this. So basically all of that work that we did was just to create this amazing sauce that we're going to be cooking the meat in for a couple of hours. It was getting late, so sorry for this clip being so dark, but basically all I did was take our lamb that I had salted and added pepper to, and I just plop it into our pot with the mixture of all of the spices and the sauce that we just made. After a couple of hours and some better lighting, this is what it looks like. You can see that the meat is already falling off of the bone. It's like falling apart. I'm barely touching it and it's falling off the bone. And that was the result of cooking it for about 2 hours on the lowest heat on my stove. Of course, you do not have to use lamb if you don't want to. You can use beef as an alternative. So traditionally, I heard that they use lamb or beef in Mexico, so I decided to give lamb a little try since I haven't seen that many people doing that. So basically the key is put in all your spices and let that thing sit low and slow until everything is falling off of the bone. This is what the finished taco looks like, and I am about to show you exactly how to make one. Of course, you want to have a bowl of the consomme to the side for you to dip your taco in, but to make the taco, I just dipped my tortilla right into all of that amazing sauce. Then I plopped the tortilla on an oiled pan. I added a little more sauce on top just because, you know, we need all that flavor. And then I'm going to spoon on our lamb meat. Now you can put as much or as little as you want. I was kind of experimenting to see how much meat and how much cheese I could put on there before the taco rips apart. So each of my tacos in this video was like slightly different sizes because I was experimenting. I actually use mozzarella cheese, but you can use any white Mexican cheese that you enjoy. Then I folded it over and I let the cheese kind of melt over the edges a little bit, just because that cheese on the outside gets really crispy and it tastes amazing. So I did that again with my other taco, and there we go, adding my cheese and letting it get crispy at the bottom. And boom, there you go. Now we want to bring some freshness back into it because we have a lot of spices going on. So I added in some fresh diced tomatoes, some onions, cilantro, and lime right into that consomme right there. And you just go ahead and dip your taco. Let me tell you, I ate all 3 tacos in no time. It was so good, and I hope you guys try it out. I will see you next time on my channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Bye.